everybody. Welcome in to Full Sport Press. I am Peyton.
I am Zach.
All right, we have a lot to talk about from the previous week. A little bit about what's coming up this week. So we'll talk. We'll start off with our what we saw of the week. Mine is going to be, of course, the historic upset of Fairleigh Dickinson over Purdue. And it wasn't just that it was a 16-1. That has happened once before, so it is a big deal. But I think it's the fashion in which it happened. If you would have told me pick any upset that could have happened between the 16s and 1s, this would have probably been my last choice.
Ooh, really?
Because this was the worst possible matchup. Coming into the tournament, they were ranked 68 in the rankings of the seeds. Like, they were literally the last team out of all of them ranked by the committee. And it was literally David versus Goliath. You have Zach Edey, 7'4", versus the shortest team in Division I college basketball. You can't make it up. That's how it would come. Like, that's how it would go. And going into it, it's like, this is the worst possible matchup for Fairleigh Dickinson. There's no chance. And the rest of Purdue managed to suck enough that Fairleigh Dickinson was able to win. I mean, Zach Edey, I feel like, did what he could, but at the end of the day, someone else has to make shots, and no one else did.
Well, FDU had a good game plan, too, of just don't let Zach Edey get the ball inside,
Yeah.
which he, of course, did. Like, you can't stop it all the time, but for the most part, they shut him down.
Exactly.
Compared to what we've seen.
The amount of wide open three-pointers that Purdue missed.
Hilarious.
Hilarious. I honestly felt bad for Zach Edey. Like, there was nothing he could do. Like, his team just let him down.
But that's what FDU had to bank on, because they're like, we have to sell out on Zach Edey. So we got to hope they miss. And like Purdue has already this year, their guards just miss. They're not good. I was not shocked when it happened.
But when I say it was the most unlikely, it was based off matchup wise and that
height, the effective height. That's crazy.
That's just a wild stat to come into that and somehow pull out a win is insane. Sadly, they couldn't make it through the second round, but they did put up a big fight again against Florida Atlantic.
That was oh my god, that was a good game.
It was. It came down to the
so
very
fast paced. But
Florida Atlantic. Go ahead.
I was just saying, in a time like yesterday, I was starting to feel the basketball fatigue. I was like, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for a few days without basketball. That game refreshed me a little bit. I was like, okay, you get some fast pace, get some good shooting, fun stuff to watch. Yeah.
See, well, I was coming into the rest of the turn. I was like, I'll pull for Florida Atlantic. And then the end of the game made me decide not to pull for Florida Atlantic because the guy deciding once Fairleigh I don't know if you saw it. Fairleigh Dickinson pulled the guys off, and he decided to try a 360 and missed, which was also hilarious. And then one of the bench warmers for Florida Atlantic was waving bye to Fairleigh Dickinson. And I'm just thinking, like, first of all, if this was Purdue, yes, do it. But it's a 16 seed. Like, I don't know. It just didn't feel right. Like, come on.
Florida Atlantic plays in some of the plays and practices in some of the worst facilities in the country. So it's a shock that they're here too. I'm not saying that makes it right, but
I just wouldn't. If it was a different team, like if they do that to Tennessee, okay. But Fairleigh Dickinson, it just felt wrong.
Oh man,
I have a lot to say about Tennessee coming up. Go ahead. What is your what we saw?
Mine is actually one of the first games of the tournament. It is Furman, Virginia. Holy cow! This was one of the more popular upset picks. I don't think the most popular, but it was one of the more popular ones. And it was a close game the whole time, kind of like we thought. They're just not that great.
Yeah.
They need the game to be at their pace if they want to win. And if it's not, then there's a good chance they could lose. And that's exactly what happened. And just the way it happened, it looked so clearly. Virginia had that game won. They're like, okay, we've got it. They were down, or they were up by 1. There was 5 seconds left. And then at the end of the game, they inbound the ball in one of the corners. And of course, Furman goes for a trap. And they get it. It wasn't that hard of a trap. They weren't all in his face. They were getting there, but they weren't in his face yet. And the Virginia player, I don't even know who it was, but he just throws
T.A.
it.
Clark.
He just throws it. Yeah, he just throws it. And a Furman player caught it, and he passed it up. Was it Slauson who hit it?
No, it was I can't remember the guy. He wasn't even that great of a 3-point shooter.
Well, they pass it up to a wide open guy because the defense is obviously broken down, and he hits the three, wins the game for Furman, and takes them on to the second round, where we were hoping for the upstate low country battle of the South Carolina,
Yeah.
but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a great ending. It's always so good to see Virginia go down like that.
Let me say, well, see, the thing is with Virginia and Tony Bennett's play style, it almost sets them up for upsets because they play so slow. They never really pull away. Like it seems like the other team is like 10 down at all times, and they're not going to keep scoring to where it pulls them away from that. So when it gets to the end of the game, crazy, it's all possible for a team to catch up quick and pull and win it like Furman. But yeah, the fact that he just threw that pass up will still forever just be like
Crazy.
what happened.
Just,
And the
what are
fact
you
that it was
thinking?
their senior point guard of all people, like
Yep.
the guy you think you trust the most. And I feel bad for him, but man, you just can't
I
make that
don't.
play.
Don't make stupid
Oh
decisions.
man.
It's
All
not
right.
hard.
Moving on to a new topic we have yet to ever discuss on Full Sport Press. We have two of those today. The first one is NCAA Baseball. As you can see, the jersey today. Now, just a few points. It's just getting started into conference play, so we're not going to talk about it too much. Number one, this season of baseball is looking kind of similar to the college basketball season, and where it feels like anyone might be able to beat anyone. A lot of teams that came into the season ranked high are losing to teams that were not supposed to be that good. For example, Tennessee got swept by Missouri this weekend, and Tennessee came in as a top 5 team. There's been a bunch of upsets. Now, speaking of the SEC, they are looking like the dominant force of college baseball as usual. They have like 8 teams in the top 11 or 12. It's ridiculous. Now, speaking of the SEC and the jersey, South Carolina Gamecocks are off to a 20-1 start. The best since 2001 for them. And they just swept Georgia, two games they had to end early because of running rule. That's just ridiculous. They are a completely different team than last year, hitting the ball extremely well. They have a few big series coming up that will really show how good they are. But right now, it is a very interesting season that could have a really good end to it. So might be something to watch if you haven't watched baseball before. A lot of parity this year.
Yeah, I absolutely despise baseball. Always have, and I have tried it. I have. There was one year where I was like, "Oh, these playoffs are fun," and the next year I gave it a shot, and I was like, "Nope, not for me."
Maybe
But anytime South Carolina's beating Georgia, I'm for it. Or
maybe
Clemson,
try
I'm for it.
try college baseball. It is a little different.
I have tried college
And I will
baseball.
say this season, especially both MLB and college, they have tremendously sped up play. Like the pitches are one after another after another. And I will say I've struggled with watching it before, but when I was watching the game this weekend, it was going so quick that it really didn't bother me that much. So I will say a lot of people hate, like a lot of traditionalist baseball hate the new rules, but as a casual viewer, of someone that doesn't view unless it's their team or someone or a big game, I will say the new rules, I'm a fan. It kind of does speed it up and make it watchable. I'm not sitting there for 4 hours watching them take forever to pitch it.
I will say if South Carolina does make it to either the semis or the finals, I'll give it a little peek because I want to see the Gamecocks do good. But other than that, yeah.
All right, moving on to our next topic, the NFL. Now we are Panthers fans, but
We are.
this I feel like they're the team that's made the most splashes this offseason. So we're going to start off with a little Panthers segment and just kind of go over all their moves because there's been a ton. So starting off, this happened a couple weeks ago, but we were busy with March Madness, so we didn't talk about it. The Panthers trade for the number 1 pick. Yep.
And a move that kind of like it's been talked about, but it really came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it, and we all hit up the group chat like, "Oh my god, this just happened."
Yeah, we were that, and then we were like, DJ Moore's gone. DJ,
Yeah.
because we didn't know
Listen,
originally.
A worthy sacrifice. It's
Yeah,
fine.
I've seen a lot
Bye.
of
I
people.
love you, but
Yeah,
bye.
a lot of people are like, "Well, but you get rid of DJ Moore." But if you hit on this pick, it's 100 times over worth it.
Yep.
Wide receiver is very much more replaceable than a quarterback. As you can see
Mm-hmm.
by our past few seasons of Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, PJ Walker, you can't just find a quarterback out on the street anywhere. You gotta, if you want to be a competitor for the Super Bowl, you have to find a guy that can win you games single handedly. So I assume in my it's either going to be Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. I hope. Um, I think it might be CJ Stroud, but who knows at this point?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I like Stroud.
they
I want him.
that's what I want to. I
I
think.
I'd be happy with Young too, but I'm getting to the point now where I don't know. I guess the hype is building around Stroud.
Yeah,
I can see his name on the back of the jersey. I can see
yeah.
him putting on that hat. Yeah.
We're gonna say Stroud for now. We'll talk about more especially once we get to the draft weekend. About that. And now, other moves they've made. I'm just going to list them off real quick. Miles Sanders, running back, pretty good deal,
Cheap.
cheap deal.
Cheap.
Today, or was it today? Was it this morning or yesterday? Adam Thielen.
Yesterday.
Last night,
Last night.
Adam Thielen, 3 years, 25 million, which is a little high, but I think for a veteran wide receiver, I don't really mind it. And then tight end Hayden Hurst, the Gamecock, we love it. And then on defense, Von Bell, Chai Tuttle. I mean, I really like what they're doing right now, and that's just adding veterans, people that, especially on
Mm-hmm.
offense, people that can help out a rookie quarterback like Hayden Hurst and Adam Thielen, both very
Mm-hmm.
experienced and can help him figure out how to work in the NFL. And then on defense, giving them that safety in Von Bell to move Jeremy Chin, the linebacker, that's what we needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited for that.
And there's even more rumors that DJ Chark is coming. I know I've
Yeah.
seen all over Reddit. He's already followed a bunch of Panthers players,
Yes.
so
So if
that might be imminent.
Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, and Terrace Marshall receiving core isn't too bad in my
Mm.
opinion. And you have a Laviska Chenault there too.
Let me throw this out to you. I talked about this today at work. Say we get Stroud, we have him for a year. Let's say we're still not the best because there's gonna be growing pains. He's good, but there's gonna be growing pains. And let's say we have a decent pick next year. How would you feel about us taking the Bengals route, drafting Marvin Harrison next year?
I'm all for it, honestly.
Oh,
Yeah,
could you
definitely.
imagine?
That would be great. And I think it's proven at
Uh,
this point um, that is honestly the most beneficial thing to a quarterback. Josh Allen,
mm-hmm.
Stephon Diggs, explosion. Joe Burrow gets Jamar
Yep.
Chase, explosion. I
Yep.
I think Tua gets Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and he played much, not necessarily explosion, but he played much better than he has previously. I don't see why not. I mean, get him an
Yeah.
elite guy, man. Yeah, that would be
It's crazy how things are looking, especially with how the season ended.
yeah, really. To a complete 180. Um, all
Yeah.
right, other free agency moves. Brandon Cooks to the Cowboys for cheap, a fifth and a sixth rounder, I believe. Um, which
Yeah.
that's pretty cheap and good veteran wide receiver.
How does he go so cheap? Because he's always really
I
reliable
don't
and
know.
really
Yeah.
good.
I guess he's just not the
And it feels
elite guy, but
I don't know. It just feels like every time he gets traded, it's like for a third or a fourth. It's
yeah,
never a second or a first, which I'm not saying it should be, but with the numbers he puts up and the reliability that he has, especially in the past, it's like, whoa.
yeah. All right, and then we got Jimmy G to the Raiders for a massive contract.
Yep.
He's reunited with Josh McDaniels, but I don't know. I'm not gonna be sold on Jimmy G until he's more than just a game manager quarterback that can not lose you the game, I guess would be the best way to describe him. Um,
Yeah.
but we'll see how that goes. And then A-Rod to the Jets, most likely, we assume at this point. Who really knows?
Drama
Yeah,
queen. Drama queen. I
exactly.
am so over him. So over him.
I agree. I'm glad the Panthers weren't involved in anything with that because and
Mm.
the asking price is outrageous. Two first rounders.
For a
Um,
for a 38 year
Yeah,
old,
I mean,
39-year old. Oh
if the Jets do
no.
that, then that's not good.
It's in I can't see them Like, why would you want to do that when you just spent a second overall pick on Zach Wilson? I know he's not working out, but you just spent that on him. And then you also found a decent backup who, when he wasn't hurt, he played pretty good and the team liked. Eh, it just seems
I
dumb,
agree.
but whatever.
As if it wasn't a first rounder, I'd be like, okay, but man, that's a lot to give up for a guy you're going to get for just a couple years at most. Um,
Yeah,
and then I think that's about it for any free agency move. Oh wait, Lamar Jackson has still yet to sign anything. Um,
I wouldn't if I were him. Don't.
I don't understand the teams why no one is interested. I get why the Panthers weren't now because they were going to be doing this, but other
Mm-hmm.
teams, why?
I mean, it's a lot of
I get it's a lot of money. But the Raiders just
yeah.
signed Jimmy G for whatever. I mean, just might as well commit to Lamar Jackson if at that point. Um, I don't know. I don't get it. I personally would just bite the bullet and sign him if I'm a team that needs a quarterback and I can do it. Like the Falcons. If I was a Falcons, I would be all in. I don't get what they're doing. Um,
I feel like it just depends on if teams feel like they're a really good quarterback away or not. Like if they feel like if we go all out, it's a break. It's like a what is it called? Mm, I don't know. I don't know what the term I'm trying to say is, but it's like this is something that if you feel like you're a quarterback away, you have to win it that year.
mm.
And that's it. Like you're not going to get another chance, and you're completely tearing up your future because you're not going to have money for anybody.
Well, I guess my thing is though, these teams were so willing to do it last year for Deshaun Watson. Why are you not willing to do it
Yeah.
with Lamar Jackson? That's the biggest thing I look back at is all these teams were lining up for Deshaun Watson. The Browns are the only ones that gave him fully guaranteed, but the other ones are going to give him something close. And the price tag is not, or like the how much you're going to have to trade is not near as much. It's just 2 first rounders because of the franchise tag thing. That's the part that gets to me. Why were you so into Deshaun Watson but not Lamar Jackson?
Do you think it's still durability stuff? People still see him as a running back and see
So
his
my
shelf
thing is
life
there.
going
You're
down?
more worried about that than what Deshaun had going on. I would.
Listen,
Mm,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't
All
know.
right. Next thing, another new topic.
Hey,
Oh,
Deshaun can get massages and play.
yeah.
Sorry. I'm sorry, but
Our next new topic. This will be a one-time thing. We might touch on it next week, if depending on how it goes. But the World Baseball Classic coming to an end tonight. Mexico plays Japan in the semifinal for a chance to play the USA in the finals on Tuesday night on FS1. It has been. I've seen a lot of videos on Twitter of it. It has been a really fun event. Fans going insane about it. Um, but if you're a big baseball fan and you haven't seen any of it, this would be a great time. If the U.S. Can win the finals, that would be pretty awesome. So yeah, that will be tomorrow night. And Japan is pretty loaded, I'm sure. So Mexico too. So it should be a good game. All right, moving on to women's basketball tournaments. Zach, what you got to say about that?
oh boy, it's been crazy. Usually for March Madness on the women's side, I would say in the past there have been upsets. It's always happened, but it feels like the first 2 rounds have kind of been chalk, and then it gets crazy in the Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four. Not this year. Holy cow! You have teams getting upsets like crazy. For one, Mississippi State upsetting Creighton. Creighton came into this tournament as a 6 seed and got beat 81-66 by Mississippi State in a down year for the SEC. So that's absolutely insane. You go on down the list. Where's the other one? Georgia beating Florida State. Nobody would have seen that coming. Again, in a down year for the SEC, another SEC team getting this upset. Washington State, who just ran the Pac-12 tournament, lost by 11 to Florida Gulf Coast University. A 12 seed over a 5. You got Princeton, just like their men's team, who we'll talk about a little bit later. Their women's team upset NC State. That was a big one. Toledo, another 12 over a 5, beating Iowa State. And then you go into the second round, you have even more. Yesterday, South Carolina was close for 2.5 quarters. Did end up winning by 30, but that's just the Gamecocks for you. Mississippi State kept it close with 3-seed Notre Dame. That was almost an upset, but they pulled it off. Ole Miss upsets number 1 Stanford, which is insane. They have one of the best players in the country with Haley. God, I want to say Jones. I don't know why I'm blanking on her last name, but Jones sounds right. So that's what we're going with. That upset is massive. Whereas the Iowa yesterday was close for a long time against Georgia, but they pulled away. And then today we're filling out the rest of the Sweet 16, and it's gonna be an interesting one for the end of this. I'm really excited to see the Sweet 16 Elite Eight. Once we get down to that, and hopefully you've got the UConns, South Carolinas, Iowa, Indiana plays tonight. That's a big one. We don't know if Mackenzie Holmes is going to be completely healed up, ready to go. So all these games in this tournament are looking good, which is awesome. It's a great thing for women's basketball. I love seeing it because it's just getting more people's attention.
Only thing I have to say is go Gamecocks. All right.
Absolutely.
Now, moving on to the men's tournament. And I watched at least a little bit of every single game. So I will have at
Same.
least something about that we can talk about probably over half of them. But let's just go over a little bit of highlights.
Same.
We already talked about Furman over that upset. Now, one I want to do talk about San Diego State, both of their matchups. First against Charleston, and man, Charleston really fought their hardest. That foul in the 3 near the end, which I still don't agree with, really kind of sealed the deal. Was a dagger. But I mean, watching that game, San Diego State was just like overpowering. Like it was like men against boys. Like I hate to say it, but like they were just like all of them jacked. And then you look over the skinny dudes on Charleston. It like the fact that it was this close is kind of amazing because they could have like just gone in the paint every play and just dominated. And the same thing when they played Furman, San Diego State. They destroyed Furman. And I got to say, I was kind of off on San Diego State, obviously because I picked Charleston to beat them. But going into, I mean, I think them and Alabama could be an interesting matchup for the Sweet 16. I mean, they've been playing good. I mean, they haven't had a huge test, but neither is Alabama coming in or in the tournament yet. So I think that one could be a close one. It's going to be hard to stop Alabama, though.
Dude, but looking at Alabama, I don't think I watched any of their game against Texas A&M Corpus Christi, but I did watch Maryland. And it was close for a little bit. They ended up running away with it, but man, Brandon Miller, he's just so good. He can shoot, he can defend, he has so much length. It's like if Victor Wembanyama wasn't in this draft, I think Brandon Miller would be looked at as a number 1 pick coming up in whenever the NBA draft is. But wow,
I think that's
good.
the problem with Alabama. Like once they get down, I just think Brandon Miller can take over and win the game for him. If he play, especially if he's on. If he's off, maybe not. But if he's playing good, he's unstoppable. So anyway, keep going with the first round. Princeton beating Arizona. Ooh. Now that was a little combination of Arizona just playing horribly. Their guards just apparently forgot how to play. But Princeton not only beats Arizona, then goes into the next round and not beats Missouri, destroys Missouri. And
a good Missouri team, a good shooting Missouri team.
They were up double digits like almost the entire game.
Crazy.
I was watching it. I was just like, how is this Princeton team this good? Like,
hey, you don't mess with them.
It wasn't like they were just shooting really well, which they were shooting really well, but they were dominating them, like rebounding. Like the amount of offensive rebounds they were getting. Like when you think of an upset, that's not how it's done. It's that they get some breaks, they make some shots, but they just physically were dominating them in the post, and that's crazy to me. Let's see. Auburn beating Iowa. I know you hated that one. Because we both were not high on Auburn, but somehow beats Iowa.
Oh no.
Duke destroyed over Oral Roberts. We'll get to their second round matchup in a minute. That one was shocking to me because everybody was all on Oral Roberts, and I was expecting a close game, but it was a blowout from the first minute. Like they took the lead, and it never
Yeah.
was close again. Um,
Another one I want to talk about, Memphis FAU. That was such a good game, such a close game. Another one that the refs gave away. I do agree with you, even though
yeah,
it helped me out.
the refs, man.
But I mean, that one is more understandable to me than the Charleston one, because when you have 4 guys on the floor going after a ball, if you're a ref, your eyes are going there and not looking at the other players calling a timeout. So that one is, I agree it's wrong, but it went down how it went down, and for FAU to hit that final shot, it's like, wow, they really did it. I
How
love it.
about Iowa State? If
Oh my gosh,
if you had to watch any of that, I apologize.
it was bad.
Iowa State
It was
scored
bad.
41 points for the entire game. For the first 10 minutes of
Yikes.
both halves, I believe they were like 1 of 20. It was it was really
Yeah.
bad. Um,
There was a while we didn't think they would get to 30 points. Like, we were texting each other like, are they going to are they going to break 30?
41 is being nice, honestly. They scored a lot of that at the very end of the
It
game.
is.
And that's crazy to say, but they
Mhm.
probably should have had like 30 points if Pitt would have been playing
Mm.
defense the whole time. Because there was a few layups near the end that they just kind of went to the hole and no one stopped them.
Yeah.
So like the 41 is generous, which is crazy.
Mm.
Heartbreak for the Owls. Hootie hoo. Kennesaw State. They almost pull off
Yeah.
the upset against Xavier. We
It
almost
was
had
a
a
good one.
brawl on the court between Sule Boom and Kunkel.
Hey,
Um,
good.
but um,
That was whole. Why are you yelling at each other like that? But that's not even the only time it happened. I can't remember what game it was, but it happened like 2 other times
yeah,
where players on the same team were yelling at each other. What was the other
yeah,
one? Oh,
yeah.
Memphis. Memphis. I was like, what are we doing here?
Um,
Crazy. Crazy. I've never
and
seen that.
then Miami survived Drake. I really thought they were going to lose.
They
Isaiah
did.
Long chose a
Yeah.
horrible time to have his like worst game of the year. But luckily Nigel Pack was like unstoppable. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's about like kind of the
Yep.
big games in the first round. Moving on to the second round, man,
Oh,
Duke,
baby.
Tennessee.
That was a good one.
At the end of the day, I'm not that upset about it. They are just a old, like physical team compared to Duke being young
Yeah.
and they're freshmen. They haven't built the muscle that all the guys at Tennessee had. And going into a game like that and how physical it was, I mean, that Tennessee center about killed Kyle Filipowski multiple times. Like
Just that was the craziest thing to watch. I mean, the man has a rebound, nobody around him, and just like, what are we
the
doing?
fact that there was
Why?
no people will say Kyle Filipowski flopped, and he did a little bit, but why is he even doing
Yeah,
that?
but
No, he's
why are
not
you
going for
throwing
the rebound. He
elbows?
was just standing beside you and just elbowed him. And then
Yeah,
another one, Kyle Filipowski just
dude,
standing there. He just runs and trucks him in the chest. I'm like, dude, like
that was
what is
hilarious.
happening? And
Oh, oh
yeah, it
man.
was, and Jeremy
No.
Roach struggled. He was in foul trouble from like the first part of the game. That didn't help. Um, and I think
Hmm.
watched a ESPN segment, and it was Jay Billis and someone else saying they felt that was the worst refereed game they'd ever seen. That Tennessee should have had about 15 more foul calls than they got. And I felt like I was watching it. Every drive to the post, I was like, "That's foul," and they just wouldn't call it, which I guess is consistent. Like it was horrible refereeing both ways, but like at some point, like let them play can only go so far. Like it was just insane how much contact there was in that game.
Yeah. Staying in the East, honestly, we can talk about
Yeah,
all of these second round games. They were all good. Next one I want to go to is Michigan State Marquette. Marquette came into this tournament as one of the hottest teams, one of the flashier picks for everybody to latch on to. I had them going to the Final Four, and Michigan State just controlled that game. There were points where Marquette was up, and it still felt like Michigan State was in control and they were fine. And they just played better. Marquette missed a lot of big open shots
Yeah.
that really hurt them. They missed a bunch of free throws, which was weird. Their best player on the team, I
Tyler
can't
Kolek.
remember his name, but he was apparently
Yeah.
the Big East Player of the Year. Garbage this game. I mean, you just can't do that against Michigan State. Tom Izzo is going to make you pay,
Yep. I mean,
as
they
he
just
did.
chose the worst time to have their worst possible game. Yeah, Michigan State just
Mm-hmm.
controlled them the whole time. And it's crazy just how every March you can just expect this from Michigan State. They didn't look good this year at all, but they come in and
Nope.
they beat USC pretty handily. They beat Marquette. I mean, they're in the Sweet
Mm-hmm.
16 again. It's at this point you just have to
Yeah.
expect it, even when they aren't that good, that they're somehow going to make a run.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I would look out for them next round. I wasn't high on them at all coming into it, but Kansas State. Let's go ahead and talk about their game since that's who Michigan State will be playing.
Baby. Before we, I
Yep.
know we're going to
Yep.
highlight one player, and I want to, but I do want to highlight
Poor guy.
Oscar Sheboy. The man is just a rebound machine. The way he just goes up with two
Yep.
hands and it's his. Nobody has a chance.
18
Did he
rebounds.
have 18 in that game? Like, that's insane. So good. But let's talk about the
Noel,
real star
dude.
of that game.
My gosh.
Oh my, the one play I will always remember, hopefully for the rest of my life, is him driving to the paint and that no look alley oop. Like, that's it right
Yeah,
there. That is
he was not only
so
just
good.
making insane passes for like the second half, he was just making shots that like I think he was just like, this is my game, and he was just shooting whatever he wanted, and he was making
Yeah.
it. Like there was a bunch of threes, like
Mm-hmm.
he had a dagger one
Yeah.
that was just like, all right, he's too good right now. 27 points, 9
And
assists.
that was a yeah. And that was a
It
good
was.
back and forth game. During that game, you really didn't know
Yep.
anybody could have won it. But yeah, Noel came out on top,
He
and
took
man,
over, and then
good game.
Keontae Johnson hit that step back three. Oh, that was the
Yeah,
dagger. I was just like,
yeah,
wow.
that was it.
If
That
they're
was
gonna
it.
hit that, that's game. So yeah, Kansas State versus
Yeah,
Michigan State next round. Woo.
that's
All
gonna
right.
be interesting.
Let's see what else we can talk about. Second round. Um, Arkansas beating Kansas.
Oh yeah,
Now, this might be my game of the tournament so far because it was
that was a
insane back
good
and
one.
forth.
Yep.
Arkansas's Debo Davis was just at one point, it was like Noel just taked over the game, scored probably like
Mm-hmm.
15 straight for Arkansas. It was insane. But this is
Yeah.
a team I remember me and Zach talking about back in November, and it was when they were in the Maui Invitational, and they were them and Creighton were playing each other, and I was like, this could be a Final Four matchup, honestly. But Arkansas never really looked that good again, and Creighton did
Nope.
sometimes. But now it's like they're back to where they were at the start of the season somehow, because it wasn't like this was a fluke upset. They looked good.
The best thing about that game was the end, where after they won, the coach is up in the stands facing all the Arkansas fans, just rips his shirt off. Apparently, he
Yeah,
did that
that's
at
his thing.
Nevada too. I watched that and I'm like, all right, I love it. Let's go with it. But yeah, to take out Kansas, that ends any hopes for another back to back. Florida still reigns as the latest back to back champions.
And to think,
Man, that was a good
I
one.
texted you during that
One
game
game.
and said, I think Kansas is going to repeat because Kansas at
Mm-hmm.
one point was up like 10 or 12 and was
Yeah,
looking unstoppable. And then Arkansas
yeah.
comes back and wins it. Yeah. All right. What game are you looking at?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one. I don't want to talk about it too much, and not even really the game. I want to talk about Creighton though. They're looking good. I know that they're one of those teams that bounce back and forth between looking good and looking bad, but they dominated Baylor yesterday. Another one of those games where there were times they were close, but they had control the entire time. And it wasn't even Shireman.
Nimhard was
It was
going off.
everybody else. Just,
Like,
dude,
I've seen
yeah,
him
he's
multiple times
so
do that
good.
where he'll have amazing games, but then he'll also have games where he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
do a thing. Yeah, he had 30 points.
Yep.
So
And they have a good matchup for the Sweet 16. They play Princeton, so we could see them
yep,
in the
I
Elite Eight.
agree. I'll be so shocked kind of Princeton is able to pull off another one. But yeah, Creighton
Yeah.
did look good. And then UConn, I talk about another team that looks unstoppable.
Man,
UConn
dominating.
destroyed St. Mary's.
Dominating.
It was close in the first half,
Yep.
and then they just put their foot down and it was over. I kind of expected that.
Yep.
Wasn't that high on St. Mary's, but still, the way they did it, it was just like that. That team's one. Don't want to mess with them.
One thing I've kind of noticed is these teams that like to play at their own pace, they like to control the pace of the games. Usually that means they're slower. They're not doing too great. Like Tennessee, they've made it through so far. They got past Duke, they got past a scary Louisiana team. But then you look at St. Mary's, who is like the best defending team in the country, a team that likes to play at their own pace, and they just couldn't stay with UConn. And UConn center is just
Yeah, Sinogo.
unstoppable. Like, what do you do against?
He is
What do you do
crazy.
against him? He's so
Yeah,
he's
he is.
thick. The two
He is
C's.
good. And the final one, or two more, I think we should really hit on. Miami went from looking like they're going to get crushed by Indiana to the Miami I was talking about. If they show up, they can be a Final Four team because Isaiah Wong looked completely different than he did against Drake. 27 points. And then, of course, the return of
Yep.
Omir that got hurt against Duke. He had 17 rebounds. And I mean, that's what when I said I think Miami could be a Final Four team, this was the Miami I thought that needed to show up. I'm not going to lie. I was scared after the Drake game. I was like, I made a mistake. Why did I put Miami in the Final Four?
Yeah.
But this at least justifies my pick, even if they don't make it there. I mean, they looked unstoppable.
And then even the flip side, Indiana shut down a very popular upset pick in Kent State. Just didn't even give them the time of day. And they look like, okay, maybe they could go make a little bit of run. And then they come in this game and it's like they don't know that they can rebound the ball after a missed shot. That's what I kept seeing. That's what Megan kept seeing last night. And I'm like, what are they like? They just don't want the ball in their hand. And then when they did have it, they missed.
And
They were just so
then
bad.
the nightcap last night, which I fell asleep. I didn't see the very end of TCU Gonzaga because
Same.
I don't know if I'll ever watch a full Gonzaga game at this point. I don't know if I'll make it through.
Yeah.
But Gonzaga pulls out the win. Yeah. Drew Timme is here to play. He wants a championship.
Yeah.
I think he's made that clear. He's dropped. I don't know if you saw. He dropped the F-bomb in the post-game interview. So
Good.
Yeah,
good for him.
Now moving on to our Sweet 16 matchups. Let's just go into a Final Four prediction. Who are you taking in each? Let's start with what is Alabama's? The South. All right. Who is your Final Four team in the South? You can kind of break it down game by game if you want.
Yeah. I mean, I think this one is going to come down to, in the Elite Eight, Alabama and Creighton. I just, like you said, I don't see Princeton having another upset. San Diego State's good. Alabama is so much better. And in that one, how do you pick against? As much as I want to pick Creighton, I just can't. Alabama looks so good. Brandon Miller looks unstoppable. So my Final Four team.
I have to agree with you with everything you said. I think San Diego State could give them a test, but I still think Bama's too dominant, and Creighton will move on. So Bama Creighton, it could definitely be a classic game, but at the end of the day, Bama too dominant at the moment. All right, moving down to the East. This one is a tough to pick, I feel like. We got FAU Tennessee and then Kansas State, Michigan State. Now, in FAU Tennessee, I think Tennessee will win it. Kind of the same way with Duke. I think they'll just be too physical, and FAU won't be able to handle it. I mean, I don't think FAU has probably faced a team like this all year at the size and the strength that Tennessee has. I'm going to doubt that anyone in the CUSA has anything like that. And I don't think they'll be able to handle it. So I'm taking Tennessee in that matchup.
I think that game is going to come down to pace. Are they going to go? Can FAU control the pace and go fast? Because if they can, FAU is going to win the game. But if not, and they let Tennessee kind of body them up, they let them slow the game down and get into that defense, that really good 3-point defense they love, then it's going to be rough. I really, really would love to pick FAU, but I have more faith
Last
right
week,
now in
do
Tennessee.
you think you would have been picking
Oh, that's a tough one
Tennessee
though.
last week to go to the Elite Eight? You-
No,
I
absolutely
know.
not.
They're completely different in my mind than
Absolutely
they were a
not.
week ago. If Vescovy plays like he did, and what's his face? I don't even know his name at this point. The guy who apparently is the yeah, like or
The
not
body
him, the other
slammer.
one. The one that hit the threes that is
Oh
apparently not
no.
even a good 3-point shooter. They all have
Oh
crazy
yeah, I don't
names
even
on
know his name.
Tennessee.
The guy.
I'm like, every single one of them. I'm
Yeah,
like, who?
yeah, they really do.
But yeah, if he is plays like that
Ugh,
again, then I really think Tennessee wins it. Then Kansas State versus Michigan State, another one that feels impossible to pick.
man.
I'm gonna go, man. I want to say Michigan State because of Tom Izzo strictly, but I'm going to go with Kansas State. I think Tangang rolls through somehow and finds a way to win. I don't know if it's Noel taking over. I don't know if it's Keontae Johnson takes over. I feel like they'll find a way to win it. Wow.
I think I'm going to go with Michigan State. For me, Kansas State's biggest weakness is their turnovers. They have not had that problem yet in the tournament in their first 2 games, and it might happen this game. Michigan State can get turnovers and they can kill you in transition.
Yeah.
Especially if Hauser gets hot, it's over. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just going to predict Kansas State turns the ball over a little bit too much.
All
So
right.
that's
So,
who I got
in
going.
our Elite Eight matchup in the East, I have
And oh,
Tennessee versus Kansas State. You have Tennessee, I believe. Did you pick Tennessee versus Michigan State?
I did.
I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm going with Tennessee. I think they like you said with the Kansas State turnover problem. This is where it becomes a real problem. Now talk about a physical game. I think Kansas State can match up a little bit better. Um, Now Noel won't be able to do what he did against Kentucky. That's for sure. Because I'm sure
No. Yeah.
Pavslik or whatever will clothesline him or something and knock his head off. But I think I'm going to
Yeah, of
take
course.
Tennessee to the Final Four, and I cannot believe I'm saying that.
I don't know. This is tough. I really want to say Michigan State. I just know how they have looked, and I know how Tennessee has looked, but they look completely different now.
All right.
Michigan State to the Final Four,
Now
playing Alabama.
there is a
That's just
possibility
how I
we come
feel.
into next week
Vibes
and
check.
Tennessee goes back to what we thought they were, and or what me and Zach thought they were, and that is a
Yep.
not very good team and that can't score. But we'll see what happens.
Here's what I'm going to be most mad about. We released the bracket and did the group. People
Yep.
joined. We have like 76 people in there. So thank you everybody for joining. Hope you come watch the podcast. Right now,
Yeah, I know.
I believe she's in 4th. But for a while, my mother, who I promise you has not watched a minute of basketball until this weekend, or I guess last weekend, was in 1st with Tennessee as her champion.
I mean, if
And I just
Tennessee
can't believe
wins,
it.
she's gonna win it.
So
So
I know. Maybe she knows something that I don't know. And I'm going to be sending her a $25 gift card and a home field shirt.
oh man.
But
All right.
man,
Yeah. So
wow.
um, next up we have the Midwest. This one is probably the most strong at this point. Like, good lord, both of these matchups. Or well, I'd take that back. The West is also very strong. In my opinion, the champion will come from the right
It
side
is.
of the bracket, unless it's Bama. Unless it's Bama, that's the only team I
Mm.
see winning it on the left. All right, so Midwest. Start off with Houston versus Miami. Talk about a battle of guards. That will be crazy to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I got to roll with Miami. I'm sticking with my pick there. I think Miami, Isaiah Wong, if he can play like he did against Indiana, if not, if he can play like that, and Nigel Pack can play like he did against Drake, then I think they would be unstoppable. But the question is, will Houston's defensive guards be able to stop that? Sasser, will he be able to shut down Wong?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what makes the matchup really risky to pick Miami, but I'm going to take Miami.
Well, I mean, the thing with Houston is they have good defensive guards
Yeah.
that are also really good on offense. And they're all healthy. That was the big question coming into the tournament is, are they going to be healthy? And they've gotten 2 games under the belt, and they look good. So I am going to go with Houston. I'm not gonna pretend like the only reason is because I want to beat you and Miami losing would help me out a lot there. But no, I can
Man, if
see this
Miami
game
gets to the
going either
Final
way, but I'm
Four,
going to go
that
with
is
Houston.
I don't care about the rest of my bracket. The fact that I called that one is pretty impressive, in my opinion, and I'll take it. All right, and then we got
Yeah,
Xavier, Texas. This one's easy to me. I think Texas rolls.
easy for me.
Yeah,
Yep.
and
Texas looks
Xavier
good.
struggled
They
against
look
Kennesaw
too
State, and then
good.
beats Pitt. I don't think Pitt's that good. Um, so I don't think they've really had a test
Nope.
in the tournament. Texas had a Colgate team
Nope.
that they destroyed, and then Penn State, who was on a hot streak. They beat they beat Booty Ball,
Booty ball.
sadly, and yeah. So then we got for me Miami, Texas. For you, Houston, Texas, and I'm just gonna stick with my pick here at this point. I'm not gonna change. I'll take Miami to the Final Four.
I'm going Texas. As much as I love Houston, Texas played in the Big 12. A lot tougher teams. They are so much more battle tested, and they also have really good guards and forwards who can shoot the ball.
To be
I
fair,
don't
though,
see
Big
Houston stopping
Point
it.
does have 2 teams
Texas to the 4.
left in the bracket at the moment. So
They do, but
Kansas State,
they're who's their second team? Kansas State. They do, but I would argue they are probably their 2 best teams. I didn't think Kansas was
Kansas
that
and
good coming in.
Baylor were
I don't
Kansas was
think.
1 seed, Baylor was a 3 seed. Which I picked Baylor to lose that game. I
Yeah,
didn't think they were going to win
Baylor's
that.
not good.
All right, and that
Yeah,
leaves us with the West. We got Arkansas, UConn. Mm. Who you're taking UConn?
easy for me. UConn. They're from what I saw yesterday, the beatdown of my St. Mary's dreams.
I'm gonna go with
They're
UConn
just too
too.
good.
It's close though, because man, Arkansas has looked good. They've beaten 2 quality teams in my opinion, and man, yeah, but UConn has been dominant. Um, I can't stand UConn's coach. He just the way he acts on the sidelines, dude.
Yeah, I
Just
really
looks
don't
like
like
he's
Danny Hurley.
crying constantly. Like he just, he gets on my nerves. Anyway, Gonzaga, UCLA. This,
That's
do
okay.
you want to go ahead and announce that as your?
Yes, I will. This is my game of the week. Gonzaga, UCLA. This is chapter 3 of it in the tournament. I believe UCLA has taken one and Gonzaga has taken the other one. And this is going to be a really good showdown. I don't remember who I picked last week in my bracket to win the whole thing, but I'm pretty sure it was not Gonzaga.
I think was it
I'm pretty
Bama?
sure it wasn't. A lot of things
Yeah.
changed. A lot of things, it might have been. But anyway, a lot of things changed after we released that episode. And it's March Madness. You start thinking maybe a little bit too much, and I changed a lot. And my champion was Gonzaga, and they still are here. So I've got to go with Gonzaga. And it also helps that they have Drew Timme. UCLA is missing their very good defensive forward.
That's why I will be taking
So,
Gonzaga as well.
yeah,
UCLA, maybe at full
Zags.
strength, I take them, but not at full strength. Haven't besides UNC Asheville, they didn't really look dominant against Northwestern, and I wasn't high on them either. So I'm going to take Gonzaga here.
Yeah.
Drew Timme wills them to the Elite Eight. And then we have another showdown: UConn
Oh, yeah.
versus Gonzaga. That one's another toughie. You know,
Yeah, I don't feel good about it, but
I
I
think the
have to go with
question is, can they
Gonzaga. I
figure
picked
out a
them to
way to
win the whole
stop
thing.
Sonogo? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just
They
man,
have the player
that's
to do it.
if Sonogo
They've
plays
got
like he did
somebody who can
against
match up.
Iona, then it's over because that dude was. I've never like a big man playing that
Mm-mm.
well was it was crazy. Um, he did, but like I
Well, he
like
even played good
Iona, he
last
was
night.
the dominant force that could not be stopped at all. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go Gonzaga. I think Drew Timme takes over, does what he has to do. He's on a mission. And yeah, I'm gonna go with Gonzaga as well. All right. Oh yeah. Wait,
All
before
right,
we do this,
so
I did
my
forget to
final
say
four
my
is
game of the week is Houston Miami, the battle of the superstar guards. Who can pull it out? That would be my game of
yeah.
the week. It will be. All right.
It's gonna
So
be a
you
good
have
one.
Alabama, Michigan State,
Yes, Michigan
Texas,
State,
Gonzaga. I have
Texas, and
Alabama,
Gonzaga.
Tennessee, Miami, and Gonzaga. So my first matchup is Alabama versus Tennessee. Yeah.
Well, we know how that's gonna go. We've seen it.
Did Tennessee? Did they play twice or once?
That's it's not a question.
Maybe once, and it was at Tennessee, correct?
Maybe only once.
What did the final score? Didn't they end up
I think
crushing?
so.
Hold on. Let's look that up because
Let's check
I
it.
remember it
Yeah.
happening, and I can't remember if it happened twice or one time. But you go ahead. You go ahead. Do your matchup. Alabama, Michigan State.
Yeah. Yeah, so mine is Alabama, Michigan State. Man. Oh, it's so tough. Oh, I love Michigan State. I love Tom Izzo, especially after this year, what they went through less than a month ago on their campus. I've just got to go with Alabama. They look too good, which holds true. I do have them in my championship, but I've got to go with Bama in that
So
one.
the first time they played, or they only played once, and it was at Tennessee. Tennessee won by 9.
Oh, okay. Oh,
in a home game.
in a home game.
You know what? I'm gonna stick
Remember
with
that.
what I said originally. The lights get too big for Brandon Miller. The pressure gets on him, and Tennessee makes it to the national championship. This is probably a
This is
outrageous
insane.
overreaction,
This
and
is
Tennessee will lose to
insanity.
FAU. But lock it in, Tennessee to the
It
natty.
probably is. Yeah.
Then on the other side,
Wow,
I have
wow.
Miami versus Gonzaga. You have Texas versus Gonzaga. Texas Gonzaga already played this year at Texas,
Yeah.
and Texas destroyed them. But it was at Texas in the beginning of the year when Gonzaga was
Good.
struggling. Yeah.
And Gonzaga's looking for their revenge.
Okay. He's already, yeah. I
And they're
shouldn't
going to
agree.
get it.
Yeah. Man, Miami
I
Gonzaga.
mean, they're my champions. So.
I think I'm going to say Drew Timme. I don't know if they can stop him. I think they would be a shootout, to be honest. And I'm going to take Gonzaga here. I think the more experienced team in the tournament is Miami, a national championship team. I'm not ready to say that, so I'm going to go Gonzaga. Which leaves me Tennessee versus Gonzaga, and you Alabama versus Gonzaga. I'm going Gonzaga. You're going Gonzaga, I assume. I mean, I'm not ready to go that all in on Tennessee and call them the national champion. So I will be taking Gonzaga strictly off that. Yeah. We got a long, wild road ahead of us. I'll tell you that much.
Well, we do. Just to update a little bit about the Full Sport Press group, I'm going to read a couple of last places first. Really, only one. Man, we love you, dude. Cam, we love you. But 73 out of 76. There was a moment there where you were 76.
Oh my! Have you seen his max points?
Oh man, that's all. That's the fun of it. Oh, I have. I have. It's not
Cam,
good.
you're basically guaranteed to be either last or second to last. I hate to tell you that, but
sadly you don't get a prize for that.
man.
But I'll give you a big hug next time I see you. Oh man, your mom's in 47th place. She's doing pretty good. Your dad is in 35th. Oh man, I'm in 27th. So I'm just hanging around the middle. You somehow, after losing your champion with 690 max points, are in 14th place. So that's pretty good. But then let's go up to the top. Nicholas Lay, don't know who you are, but you've been in first or around first basically this whole time. And you still have 1,700 max points. So it's looking like we're either sending you, or if UConn does some magical stuff, ESPN fan 66594. Keep going. One of you two.
He got set. Right now he has 7 of the elite 8 still alive, and all 4 of his Final Four teams still alive. His Final Four is Alabama, Tennessee, Houston, UConn. Man, that's a crazy good bracket. That's
insane.
wow.
That is insane.
I guess especially considering the max points is still available. Yeah, wow. And shout out Billy Ray in fourth place, another friend of ours. He's in fourth place, but
yeah, hanging around.
His max is 630.
Almost. Yeah. Well, he almost
True.
didn't even do a bracket, so the fact that he's even here.
All right.
Literally had to beg him to
I
do
think
it.
that about wraps us up. Next week we'll be talking about Sweet 16 Elite
I
Eight
believe it does.
and previewing the Final Four.
It will be making more predictions.
What else will we
we'll
talk about? What else have we got going on this week? Any other big sports? I mean, women's tournament.
We got the women's tournament that's still going. It'll right now the round the Sweet 16.
Maybe we'll review a little bit of the World Baseball Classic if the
then,
U.S. wins. College baseball.
Yeah,
getting in the swing.
There's hopefully, maybe there's some more craziness that happens. Spring ball is starting up for college football.
We'll figure out something.
Some drama that comes out of
All
that.
right.
But yeah. We're getting to the point where it's kind of a
we got NBA playoffs coming up,
but
we'll be talking about that.
Yes, the WNBA
NFL draft
is in a few weeks.
Yeah, so we'll be discovering. We'll probably be discovering some new sports that we'll talk about, and but we got to finish off this college basketball season. Goodbye, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.